James Garfield was our 20th president, as well as our last log cabin president. He tried to attack political corruption and tried to bring prestige back into the White House. He served a little over 6 months in the White House before he was assassinated. Garfield was born on November 19th, 1831, in what is now Moreland Hills, Ohio. Garfield grew up poor and fatherless. At the age of 16, he left home and got work on a canal boat, but he got sick, then would return back home. His mother talked him into attending Joga Seminary in Chester Township. He enjoyed his studies and met his future wife, Lucretia Rudolph. Garfield later worked as a carpenter's assistant and a teacher. At first, Garfield went to church to please his mother, but later he became a believer. He attended Williams College in Williamstown, Massachusetts, and finished second in his class. He taught and he worked odd jobs to pay for his college. He returned to Hiram, Ohio, and taught at Hiram College and was made principal in 1857. He was exposed to many abolitionists, and it got him interested into politics. In 1858, he married Lucretia, and they had 5 children to survive infancy. He read law in an attorney's office in Cleveland, Ohio, and was admitted to the bar in 1861. The Republicans asked him to join politics, which he did and was elected to the Ohio Senate. When the Civil War started, Garfield was ready to volunteer, but the governor asked him to stay and help him raise funds and raise equipment to arm Ohio's volunteer regiments. When the Ohio Senate went into recess, he went on a speaking tour to get people to enlist. Garfield then raised men and equipment and was ordered to bring the 42nd Ohio to Kentucky. Garfield fought in numerous battles during the Civil War and was promoted to brigadier general. Garfield also won a House seat, but he wasn't sure whether he should take it. It was President Lincoln who asked him to accept the House seat. Lincoln claimed he had plenty of generals, but not enough people in Congress who understood the needs of the military. Garfield took his seat in 1863 and had opinions that were harsh towards the South. He thought leaders of the rebellion should lose their constitutional rights and their land should be confiscated. He was against slavery and was for equal rights for all people. He was also highly critical of the recruiting system where people could buy their way out of conscription. Garfield was not really happy with Lincoln. He felt he wasn't hard enough on the South. After Lincoln's death, Garfield usually voted with the Republicans against President Johnson, who took over from Lincoln when he was assassinated. Although Garfield hated the KKK, he didn't like the idea of suspending habeas corpus to deal with the organization. Garfield was obsessively in favor of the gold standard and against the attempts to increase money supplies. General Ulysses S. Grant was now the president. One of the things came up during his administration was an attempt by a couple of people to control the gold market. It just so happened that one of those people involved was Grant's brother-in-law. When Garfield tried to investigate this infuriated Grant, even though his family was definitely involved in this plot to control the gold market. Garfield himself even came under some scrutiny. They had passed a law to increase the pay of congressmen by 50%. And it was retroactive for the past 3 years. This infuriated the public, and Garfield was one of those who supported this bill. In the election of 1880, Garfield wasn't even in the running. In fact, he was supporting a different candidate. However, when the convention could not come up with a nominee to the liking of everyone, Garfield's name came up, and he ended up receiving the nomination for the President of the United States. They also nominated Chester Arthur as Vice President. The Democrats picked Major General Winfield Scott Hancock, and their vice presidential choice was Thomas Bayard, a senator from Delaware. There was also something called a Greenback Party. Basically, the Greenback Party wanted to get us off the gold standard. They wanted a free flow of money. They thought that would be better for the economy. Their nominee was James Weaver and Bazilli Chambers. He was a businessman from Texas. In the end, Garfield would end up winning, receiving 214 electoral votes, winning 19 states, and receiving 48.32% of the popular vote. Winfield Scott Hancock would receive 155 electoral votes, and he also won 19 states and received 48.21% of the vote. The popular vote was within 2,000. The Greenbacks received less than 3%. One of the things Garfield sought to do when he obtained the office was to try to root out the most blatant forms of corruption, particularly in the post office, which at that time was just a cesspool of patronage and corruption. He tried to get federal funding for education, but that didn't work out. There was one particular office seeker at this time. His name was Charles Guiteau. He thought he deserved an appointment, and he wanted to be appointed as the consul to Paris, even though he spoke no foreign language and didn't really have any experience. He was upset that he didn't get the job. He also felt that killing Garfield would help unite the Republican Party. Of course, back then there wasn't the same level of security we have today. In fact, there was no level of security back then. Lincoln was shot, but it was felt that he was shot because of the Civil War. It was just going to be a one-time, one-off type of a deal. Garfield would find out, though, that it wasn't a one-off type of a deal. Guiteau had actually purchased a gun that he thought would look good in a museum. How thoughtful. He shot Garfield in the back and in the arm on the railroad platform in Baltimore. One of the people on the platform was Robert Todd Lincoln, the son of the former assassinated president. Garfield laid in bed for a little over 2 months before he died on September 19th, 1881. He was 49 years old. Guiteau would be tried and executed. His lawyers pled insanity. Guiteau argued he didn't kill him, the doctors did through poor care. He may have had neosyphilis. Either way, he was executed on June 30th, 1882. James Garfield was one of our poorest presidents, never having over $1 million in today's money. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for listening.